I'm here with a broke university student. Now tell me, broke university student, how are you getting by with Coles and Woolworths prices? Uh, They must have been starved to death. How does happen? This is how they take advantage of us. So first and foremost, Coles and Woolworths are price gouging, abusing their duopoly and charging unreasonably high prices. Secondly, Coles and Woolworths are giving us no other options to shop. Finally, Coles and Woolworths are even sending illusionary discounts operating as an incentive for customers to buy more product. Now, before anything else, I should explain what a duopoly even is. So if you played the game Monopoly, it's about controlling the market. That's what a duopoly is. But it's just two different companies, all right? And that means that there's no readily available alternatives, which we'll get into later. The investigative journalism TV series called Four Corners covers the issue with their episode Superpower, where they unveil the strategies that Coles and Woolworths uses to keep their prices high. And intrigued by my newfound education, I found myself exploring deeper into the rabbit hole, finding this article, High Food Prices Becoming Ingrained in Australian Economy, Analyst Warns. And this was published on The Guardian. Now, this article looks into the dangers that our future generation will be facing if Coles and Woolworths continue to abuse their monstrous market power in our economy. But we aren't completely doomed. We can still seek shelter and raise awareness. But my name is Omar Sultan Malik, and this is The Feed. Now, before we discuss how Coles and Woolworths are price gouging, we need to preface what it is. Now, price gouging refers to the act of raising prices unreasonably in the interest of increasing profit margins. This can be like borderline predatory, but an industry insider warns that Coles and Woolworths specifically have been price gouging discreetly masked behind the economy's inflation. Now, this leads us, the consumers, to believe that the prices that we are paying is just a product of our country's rising cost of living, when in reality, our red and green hungry giants are just looking for a little bit of extra cash. Now, it is revealed in a separate interview that Coles and Woolworths have agents to monitor prices, trying to keep them to a reasonable degree in a relationship with their products. And this sounds like they have our best interests, right? But if you thought that, wrong, okay? Because the interviewee begins to continue that after the supplier would request a price raise, the agent would initially say no, but then after the supplier just gives a lump sum of money, they just oblige. They'd raise those prices to whatever their request was. And this is devastating for us. They're actively contributing to our cost of living crisis whilst pretending that they don't, or that they do care for us. And for young people who like us who are trying to move out, or some of us who already have, this is extremely detrimental to us. And we must seek shelter in smaller variety stores to save our wallets and ourselves. Secondly, Coles and Woolworths are giving consumers little to no options, holding us by the neck, barely allowing us to breathe whilst we drown in other expenses like gym or rent or extracurriculars, whatever you're doing. And this is done with their pricing and their sheer volume of stores. Now, back in grade 9, food tech, I could barely scrape together enough cash to make a modest honey soy chicken. I checked the local Coles for honey, but it was too expensive, and Woolies was the same story. And that was it. With no other supermarkets available, I was forced to completely skip out on honey, and that day I had really, really salty chicken. And Coles and Woolworths own the turf, so unless you're lucky enough to live near a fresh grocer or an Aldi, you're already in the palms of the humongous, grotesque, revolting giants who are known as Coles and Woolworths. Now, shockingly to us, in the Four Corners interview revealed with, another anonymous interviewee, it is revealed that Coles bases their prices on other supermarkets, and products at Coles and Woolworths have prices within cents of each other. Now, this gives consumers little to no choice, especially considering that Coles and Woolworths covers 65% of the market. To put that in perspective, in your local area, if you had, say, 10 supermarkets, 6 or more of them would be Coles and Woolworths. One of them would be an Aldi. One. And that is domination. With the number of physical stores making up the majority of supermarkets in Australia, we have to support our local fruit and veg stores. Now, the final and most heartbreaking reason for why we should boycott this all-powerful duopoly. Coles and Woolworths, the big supermarket giants, are setting up illusionary discounts, operating as an incentive for customers to buy more product, manipulating them into the process. Now, as consumers, it's our duty to cross-check our groceries with other stores like Aldi or IGA. But even so, we've been getting full for years. Those bright, flashy yellow tags reading special have been selling us a dream in our decaying economy. 10% off, 20% off, 50% off. We read these tags and we reach out for 1, 2, maybe even 3 times as much as we usually would have purchased just because of that enticing, almost hypnotizing yellow tag. Now, the problem is that the price of everything has been raising due to inflation, of course. But when something is dropped, it makes the horrible deals they're selling to us seem much easier to buy into, using the perceptual contrast effect, making one option look much more appealing than when compared to another kind of horrible option. But the worst part about it is sometimes the discounted effect or the discounted price won't even reflect the price on the tag. Now imagine how much money these giants have siphoned out of our pockets from our own ignorance. We must raise awareness to protect our loved ones from these manipulation tactics. Now, it is very important to recognize that Coles and Woolworths have been aggressively raising their prices, giving us no options to shop, manipulating us, and, gouging our purchasing power to death. But even if most of us haven't been purchasing groceries for very long as young people, we can't let this slide. We need to raise awareness to hold this duopoly accountable and stand by for the government to establish measures. But in the meanwhile, we will be shopping at our specialty stores. And together, we can take them down. The price is down, like you get the